modes.
We're live. We're live.
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Meteor. This is Dispatch 95. My name is Jan Dvorak. And what are we today talking about? When I was thinking about this, I looked at the news and I was like, it's cucumber season, as we say in Czechia, which means everybody is on vacation. There's nothing to talk about, nothing is happening. But there is always something happening. You had some earthquakes. And I was thinking, about impact. And then I realized that some things bear repeating. My name is Jan Dvorak, or Dvorak in Czech. With me here is...
Hi, this is Alim Gafar from streaming to you live from New York City.
And, when I say something bear repeating is I'm thinking, think when you started. And for you, Alim, that's probably even longer than for me. What was the, how does the tech, look like back then? Or this doesn't have to be, tech, like even remember it was on some writing forums was, remember when you started writing, how did you feel? What were the things that you knew and what you didn't know? And this is I would say the kind of topic of today is figuring out, how things are changing or not changing and what we should be looking at again and repeat to all the up and coming developers or maybe people who are rediscovering, JavaScript, MongoDB, MeteorJS, and all those things. So that's where we are going today, hopefully.
Absolutely. There is this general trend away, and I think we've seen the Primogen talking about it and others about moving away from frameworks and getting right back into writing applications without the assistance of very large frameworks. And in that, I think what we need to do is we need to take a look at the survey that's just come out. And this is the State of HTML survey. It's here. And as you all know, the storyteller is very fond of surveys. And this survey is focused on HTML. And you would think that there's nothing new to be said or had about HTML. But surprisingly, it is still evolving. It is now taking on new functionality. It has things like dialogues now. And we're seeing HTML do more and more of the work that we as developers have had to put in order to make our pages or applications function. So you'll probably learn something about HTML when taking the survey. There's talk about adopting, or not adapting, but adopting, including more common patterns into HTML. And by the way, when you take a look at the survey, you might also want to take a look at the MeteorJS community survey. Jan, you have a couple of things I think you want to add to this or say about
it. It's for me. It's always, I love the state of surveys because for me it's like always, and I love the function you can add, add this to my list to check out later. So I always come up with a list of things that I should read up and add to later. And I think with HTML, the evolution is just reacting to the common trends. I remember there was, the big thing where we added, elements like main, aside, and all those, which were just, semantic, or just names on top of div. And that was a huge thing, and that still continues. And in that, what I've seen is that HTML continues to kind of add more things to kind of support what we already have to usually sometimes very uncomfortably build in JavaScript and CSS, and really kind of get around the browser to do what we want. And another big example of that, for example, are all the different inputs, starting with the date inputs, but even like input like color. You add type color, and it then shows you, the color palette, all that stuff. You don't have to build any super fancy color picker or anything like that. It's already built into the browser. It's compatible with mobile everything, unless it's super old browser that does not support this. So that's what I kind of see coming from HTML, and that's what I love about kind of survey, to remind me, oh, this is actually happening, and there are some, there's actually constantly a progress. Something is going on, and at the same time, that kind of makes me look, okay, all the things that I've learned previously, I have to kind of relearn and include these new options in. So that's in a way, I'm gonna have to go through the tutorial again to know where I should kind of replace from what I did before, build a custom components, to kind of now I can just use what's built in, which also makes it much more easier for me as a developer. I can just add these in. It will take care of accessibility, cross browser compatibility, and it will simplify my code. So it always makes me happy to see those things.
Well, hopefully others out there find this useful, and like I said, take that HTML survey, see what it does for you. Jan, what do we have next?
So speaking of evolving, we have also JavaScript evolving. There's constantly something new, and it feels just, I think, like 2 episodes or so back, we've talked about all the new things that were added into the ECMAScript specification. And there is more, and I just got here from the official TC39 committee on Blue Sky, just an update 15 hours ago about advancing new proposals. So there's constantly something evolving, and the ones that what's coming in here is there's the option to add things. So you can kind of take an array and make that into easy iterator with all the for loops, everything, upserts, uint 8 arrays for that you will be able to create from base 64. There's a new math function, and my favorite addition to the INTL API. So there is kind of a lot of these things that have been advanced. Some of them it will take still a while because they're just like on the lower 2 or 3, but it's happening, and it's good to think to constantly keep. And again, going back to my favorite surveys, it's nice to kind of keep what's coming to come in the future. That said, I think for most of those things, unless you are like super needed them, the only thing that you might come across will be the INTL API from the new set, and probably the iterator sequencing. That looks like something pretty cool, but it will probably take me a bit to kind of get my head around. So the rest seems to me like import buffer, module global, something that frameworks and libraries are more likely to take of, or unless you're like your senior architect on big projects where you cannot do these big, say, like architecture level decisions. So, but yeah, there is a video here in the link, just about 3 minutes to kind of give you the quick overview. It doesn't have the INTL that I mentioned here because they are literally just not even 24-hour-old announcement that they've kind of moved on this. So that's. So
do they talk about the new set methods in this, or the web GPU acceleration that's built in, so you could do direct GPU computations?
Not indeed. This one specifically covers the 3 and 4 level, which were math.sumPrecise, uint 8 arrays, iterator sequencing, and I think upserts are. Let me check here for the upserts. Upserts for maps and weak maps, I believe.
Okay.
Which is
So one of the things that looks really interesting to me that they're talking about stage 2 in the spec is the inclusion of a concept called tuples, which exists in Python, has been there for a very long time. It's an immutable, and I believe they're also including another form called records, which is another immutable. It's interesting to see these coming in, and I'm assuming that there are many use cases that have approached that they've encountered, developers have encountered, where they said, it would be great to have data structures like this as first-class citizens in the language.
Yeah, it's constantly coming in. My worry is that, as I've learned JavaScript with all these, back in the days where jQuery was still awesome, and then I've kind of continued to evolve with React, that I will not really be using all these new capabilities until something really hits me over the nose with it, which kind of makes me, I have to actually relearn JavaScript after some major updates, but at the same time, it's constantly updating. So when would be the best time for that? That's kind of becoming a bit of a worry lately.
So I'm going to just kind of like move around a little bit here, on the, while you talk about the next story, and I'm doing some side production, so that I have to reach out to the folks that are in the stream right now. I haven't got the chat set, so I'm going to be doing that. So you do your thing, and I'm going to take care of this right now.
So this is something I want to kind of tell you about, Alim, kind of talking about all those things that have been evolving, that have been adding. And we have been also talking a lot that, you don't need JavaScript when you have, good CSS, or you don't need underscore. So I came across this ES Toolkit library, which is it's a state-of-the-art JavaScript utility library. And that kind of got me thinking, together with, I'm not sure, I think it was the state of JavaScript, where it was like a question if there should be or maybe a note, if there should be some sort of like a standards library, or whatever you want to call it. And if I've kind of looked back on it, we had jQuery, that was kind of like the big standard, and it was the underscore Lodash. And now we have, ES Toolkit, and I have to kind of really, tip of the hat here, that what I, just looking at the documentation, what I saw there was some, some function which were, let's say, deprecated or kind of delegated because it was included already in JavaScript itself. So there was no reason to keep it in library, and people were encouraged to migrate to the native solution, which I really like, which seems to be something I've kind of found missing in say Lodash underscore, where you have to kind of go through, you don't need to use underscore repository to kind of find out what is the native solution. So that's kind of got me like wondering, will we actually always need some sort of, let's say, ES Toolkit, or some sort of like a toolkit or standard library in JavaScript, or will there eventually be some sort like of a, I don't know, like official note, toolkit, or how you want to call it? So that's kind of what got me thinking about this. Besides, if you're looking for a modern version of underscore, this will probably be it for you. But what are your thoughts, Alim, on standards libraries like this? I'm not sure. I don't remember how it actually works in the other languages, but I do recall that there is sometimes, like a standards library which has a lot of these extended functionality.
So yeah, I think having standard libraries are incredibly helpful in C and in C++. They're there. I'm trying to remember if there is, I think there's some common libraries already baked into Python. I don't know if we call it the standard library. I have to take a look at that. I'm trying to think about Lisp. And yeah, certainly with C and C++, there is a standard library. And they have things like networking. They have things like, date handling, date and time handling, and so on as part of it. And I think that is something that, we use a number of different libraries, I think, as standard libraries in JavaScript. But they do change. Like, for instance, time and date handling, for a while, it was Moment. But moment wasn't, I believe, anything that was recommended clearly from the standards team. It's just a library that was very commonly used and did a
Yeah.
really good job, and so it sort of promoted by the community. So that to me is, you know, I think having a standard library, if there is a way of getting um, the EC 2025 team to sort of bless it, would be tremendously useful to JavaScript developers that are not incredibly familiar with the landscape, and who may be wondering what is the recommended set of libraries to use. The other thing that happens with standard libraries is that they're usually quite vetted. Um, Typically on standard libraries, they are, evaluated close to the core, and they have this sense of, well, it's there is some level of security that you can have behind it. We know that with JavaScript, because JavaScript is built on packages, built on packages, built on packages, that we can sometimes have some security issues with them. And in those cases, it's not very clear that the application that you're building that may be using a particular library, which is itself built on other libraries, um, is quite secure.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of work that's being done in the NPM community to try to make sure that they are as secure as possible. But at the same time, we've seen instances where package developers have said, you know what, I'm getting no love, and I'm pulling my package, and something that's built on top of a package like LeftPad, for instance, once pulled, destroys everybody's downstream code. So I think having a standard library that, and I don't know too much about the ES toolkit, but I think having a standard library where perhaps the level of indirection to other dependencies are removed would create a stronger sense of reliability within the import tool. So that's just how I would think about it.
It's also like very similar how, let's say, discussion we have in MeteorJS with what are the most or what is the package for routing.
Yes.
Thankfully, usually this is kind of a resolved base, but it's kind of based right now on your front end, which is maybe something to address in the future. And then there's like what is the best for cron jobs and so on. And then we have the ongoing discussion, okay, what should be in core and what should be instead just recommended in the guide. So that's always a huge debate, and everybody has different ideas on that.
I think the MeteorJS environment, while not perfect and while not entirely clear, is better than a lot of other environments, because you do have things that are in core, and then you have another level, which is what are the ones that are shepherded by the community and are part of the community packages. And I know in some cases some of those things were abandoned, but in a sense you have a sense that there is another group that is looking at these packages and saying, well, out of the entire universe of other packages that you can use in a Meteor application, these are the ones that we are blessing. And so if something happens, you know that there is a team that's going to take a look at it for you. I don't know how if that's your as one of the leaders of the Meteor community packages team, but that is sort of like how I see it when I look at it from the outside, is that core is what the Meteor software team has basically said, we are building this into it, but you know that the standard libraries are not part of the core offering typically of a language. They are the first class addendum that you turn to in order to expand the functionality that the language gives you. So to me, that's sort of the role that community packages play. And I know that's probably not what you want to hear, and it's probably not the role you want to take on, but that is, in a way, the way I kind of see it. So,
Yeah, fair point.
I should have put your face up here with a reaction.
Oh no need for that. Speaking of actions,
Yeah. So, folks, listen, if you enjoy coming week after week, or perhaps you're here for the first time and you like the discussion that you're seeing, it's giving you information that is useful, actionable, it's helpful in some way as a developer, as a business owner, learning about the MeteorJS ecosystem, learning a little bit more about JavaScript, and perhaps news about what's going on in technology generally, hit the like button. We would love to get that response from you. And I know Jan P is in the audience right now. Hey, Jan, and so is Simon Agli. Hey, guys, I expect to see a like from each of you. So hit that button. And Jan, Storyteller, what do we have next?
So next, I'll show this nice animation. Since we have it, we have Meteor News.
Excellent.
So that's, and first things first, I've made an announcement, could say earlier this week, which I call the Accounts Improvement Initiative. The idea behind this is, the core team or the Meteor software team is working on performance enhancements, and so they are busy with that. And then recently I also saw Scott or Syntax FM video where they were gushing over better odd, and that kind of got me, you could say, a bit angered that we have the feeling that we are falling behind with accounts and accounts functionality. So this is my plan to kind of combat it, and I've took better auth and look on some of the other SaaS odds and all those things, and there are some things that I've put in that I feel that we should be working on or improving, and that I want to work at, or I'm looking help with people to put together. So it's a community effort to add more functionality to the accounts or fix bugs or anything else that kind of came over the years in there. So specifically, I'm looking to work on banning functionality, impersonation functionality, which kind of prerequisite for that was the roles package in core. So now that we have that, we can include in that initial admin, and then do all the other things. Add more hooks and few other things. Jan Küster said that he will be looking into some of the other things that are, say, maybe more technical around the OAuth that he wants to kind of tackle. So, and we are looking for anybody else who wants to join us. The idea here is just that we coordinate, okay, who does what, and so that we can kind of move things forward. And what I want to kind of have is also for my talk at Meteor Impact, I won't lie, to have something new to kind of announce that we have this, cool new functionality and this is how we can use it. So, which is also another way how you can get a talk at Meteor Impact, build a functionality, get it into core, and make a talk about it.
Yeah, I've been actually jotting down some ideas for what I might do at Meteor Impact. So if we have a chance during this thing, I want to throw it back out and let people give me some feedback as to what they might want to hear or see at Impact. So, and also I'd love to get your response to Storyteller as to what you think might be what might be workable. So let me ask you a question in terms of the accounts improvement. Are you thinking that perhaps we need to have more modern providers? For instance, should there be a TikTok provider? Should there be? Go ahead.
So that's a good question. I'll just kind of quickly sum what I've did. For example, I've updated the look of in accounts UI, which is for Blaze, and I think we should probably have like maybe not say like demo, but like a template, or which kind of does the same thing in React with different places.
Sure.
This is kind of a bit issue with how we've spread with the different clients. But what I'm saying, for example, when it comes to OAuth, the only one that I have very, say, radical or like very clear view on is that we need to have Apple included in the official all-out clients. And then there's always question, what should be community, what should be core. And this is what I've been arguing for years. Is that Apple needs to be there because it's required. If you have on iOS app and you have all out with Google or something like that, you have to have Apple. And I'm looking at this, from somebody who is like a decision maker, trying to figure out, okay, should I, if I go with, Meteor, and then they look at the official list and official documentation, Apple isn't there. That's kind of like, a basic a must. And an argument that, we have, this amazing Huawei package that does that. BS. That's not something what the decision maker is not going to go on Atmosphere and look for some community package, even if it comes, from the top companies, or they don't even know Huawei at that point unless they're in Brazil or something like that. So this is something that needs to be in a core. And then I think the other ones like GitLab or anything else, that I think that's up for a good discussion. What are the and this I would say, what are the all-out service or providers that we need to have to help increase the adoption?
I don't. Do we have an AWS one? I don't think so.
No.
Right. So I think AWS definitely needs to be there, like all the cloud providers that are out there today that people are building against, the big ones. And I would throw Oracle there. I would throw AWS. Google we already have, so not an issue there. And then I would say that one of the biggest social networks for professionals in our field is LinkedIn. And do we have a LinkedIn?
Not as a core.
Right. So I think all of those things need to be there because, people are going to build against those. And they're going to either say, okay, well, I need to either roll my own, or I'm going to have to take a look at some community accounts, some community contributed feature, which I don't know how long it's going to be supported. So likely I'll probably still have to roll my own. And then that becomes friction in terms of adoption. So exactly. I think certainly those. And of course, I don't know what happens in the rest of the world. I'm very American centric. So, what is happening, for instance, in the global South, like who are their key providers out there? I know that in Europe, there is a sense that these American monsters, if you want to call them that, are so dominant. But what are the big providers out in Europe? I think Hostinger is a hosting service that I see a lot, but I don't know if they have their own OAuth provider. But I don't know who the big players are. So that would be something that I think
it's nation to nation. I have actually built OAuth for one Czech service.
Okay.
Another one or another thing that will probably come up now with the Online Safety Act in UK, which will probably spread sadly to other countries, will be potential kind of authentication of the user's age. But even before, what we have, for example, here in Czechia, we have authorization or authentication against state providers. So there is my ID or provider by the Czech state, which if you have set up, you only just need your national ID. So that's like another good check that or login that could be used for in the future. So I think this is going to be, as I said, with the recent UK law, this will be something that will be evolving, and we have to kind of start looking more into that. And it's not just out there are other things when it comes to it in regards to to two-factor authentication, passkeys, all those things. And I want to kind of tackle as many of them as I can during this summer before other things start coming closer that will require my attention. So I have pretty much next month to at least get started on them and deliver them. Go ahead.
Do you know how passkeys affects authentication, like in terms of your providers as an application developer? Because I don't have any idea behind that right now.
So I am kind of. Let me just grab here. There is passkeys and there is webauth and which kind of handles all of that, including these nice YubiKeys.
Okay.
So that's one thing I want to get. Passkeys are tied into the operating system.
Mhm.
So at least from my remembrance, I don't know because I don't have them on Ubuntu. So I have I'll have to kind of figure out how to test those. Uh, but yeah, they are tied to your operating system, and then they're kind of stored in there. And I think that's it has like fingerprints or your face photo, all that
Sure.
stuff, and then it kind of in the background it does all the communication and crypto stuff with the service that you're trying to get into. The thing is, it's not really a two-factor. It's kind of built as a replacement for passwords, which I'm
Yes.
not too happy about.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to
But yeah,
understand is, as an application developer, how does that affect my authentication flow? Do I need to change my app?
right now,
Yeah.
yes, because we don't, at least in MeteorJS, because we don't have any package for it, so you have to kind of build it up. But the goal with what I have here is that you just have a package, and then it will be just similar to like one of the OAuth things. Just click on the OAuth, or like in this case, passkey, and then it will do the authentication in its own thing, and then it will log in the user, similar like any other OAuth service. Of course, in the background, it's going to be uh, very much different, but for the user, it should not be that much different. They just uh, click that button, and it will kind of manage it for them. The only thing that will have to be is there will have to be some sort of username or something like that, because it acts like a password, at least from my understanding.
Okay, yeah, I just don't understand what the flow is going to be like if I'm a user and I come to an application that is built in MeteorJS. What do I need to provide, and what do I, as the application developer, need to ask for in order to authenticate you into that service when you are using a passkey? So I think this is a good topic, by the way. That
Mhm.
if somebody were to do a passkey demo at Impact, I think that would be incredibly instructive.
Yeah, or any all out, or all those authentication, authorization. Again, that's something's been repeating, especially in this sphere, because it's evolving. There are new secret practices like Argon 2 we recently added for password hashing. So
Mm.
again, and it's always good to have a refresher with the recent or up to date best practices.
So we have some comments in the chat here.
Yes.
We have Jan P. I mistrust Apple less than other solutions. They take my money already. They don't need to sell my data. Very good. And we have Faisal, who I don't know. I don't remember what part of the conversation it was, but better Meteor auth. So maybe. So that's great. Thank you, Faisal. It's good to see you.
Indeed. So yeah, that's for the accounts. So
Yep.
for everybody out there, please join us. Let's move accounts forward, and that discussion on the forums is kind of like coordination and discussion around kind of how to move
With
forward.
the mistake of, well, not mistake, but with the risk of sounding political, you're trying to make accounts great again, huh?
What does I say great again? Because they are great. It's just I just want to reach new heights, and uh, kind of
Uh-huh.
move them forward so that they are
Yeah, that's
again.
not a good selling point. So let's move on.
So my main to kind of say my main goal is to make them when a decision maker comes to Meteor and they
Right.
look on the documentation and they look at the accounts, that they say, yes, this is great, I don't have to
Yeah.
buy another service or anything else, I can just
Right.
roll with this and don't have to worry about a thing.
Yes. Okay. So what are we working on next? Ooh.
So this is something that I'm announcing just right now. I've launched, you could say, a landing page or sign up page for Rediscover MeteorJS, which what I will be doing there, if there is enough interest, and that's a big, that depends on you guys out there. If there is enough interest, I will be, could say, taking the original Discover Meteor book and upgrading it to 3.3 and all the modern best practices. So that's what I'm doing, and kind of this is one of the topics of today. Some things we're
Sure.
repeating again, going through all from the beginning to building an app and actually deploying it. That's all part of this new book. And I want to kind of have a few more chapters on some of the other new topics that
Yeah.
come
So,
along. And go ahead.
storyteller, let me ask you something. Why would you rewrite this book and not just write a different one? Like, what was great about this book, if you believe that there was, that if it were updated would be beneficial to MeteorJS users?
So Discover Meteor was back in the days. That was the book. That was the guide how to build Meteor application. That's how many people learned Meteor, and well, it was the definition. Tom Coleman and Sasha Grief wrote this book together. And it was an amazing resource. I think even today there's still quite a lot to learn. So
Yeah.
it's now publicly available, so you can get it for free. Of course, it's outdated because it's Meteor 1.0. So I want to kind of recapture that moment and
Yeah.
kind of
For folks that
you know
don't know who Tom Coleman, I believe, was on the Meteor team for a while at MDG, and Sasha Grief has done a tremendous amount. As a matter of fact, he's the guy behind the state of surveys that you see
Yes.
everywhere. So, and he was one of the developers of Telescope, I believe.
Yep,
Which,
that's what actually we're building there.
yeah, which then became Vulkan. So, tell us. That's right. So the content of this actually, leads you to building something like Telescope at the beginning. So that's kind of
Yeah, I'm still thinking what exactly will be
the app.
building. Right now, I name it like a space station. It would be, you could say, more of like a desk, Stack Overflow
Mm-hmm.
clone, something in between. I still have to figure out. Send me your
Sure.
ideas, because I don't think, because one of the big things to kind of determine there will be, or what I'll be talking is, what is the best fit for Meteor.
Yeah.
And or like for any technology, because I don't want to come here, use Meteor for everything. No, that's not how it works. So one of the first, like in the introduction, I will be spending definitely some time, what is the best fit for Meteor, where is it going to excel,
Mm-hmm.
and also, but saying, no, this is not the end all be all, given what Meteor is built upon. You can utilize also those technologies. So in this case, Express, which is underneath it, Node.js, all those things. So the flexibility there is big, but I'll be focusing, okay, this is publication subscription, real-time data, and all the fun that comes with it. But I will also have a chapter on GraphQL, because
Sure.
one of the things I'll be saying, publication and subscriptions is not necessarily the best, for everything. And one of the best things where you can use, GraphQL or methods to get data would be for pagination. Just or for like these big lists, or in an area where if you had the pub sub, it would just constantly keep updating, and you wouldn't be able to read, because just how fast would the stream be going. So that's where kind of limiting things and having a bit of static data is, or would be, the thing. So that's kind of Meteor, and of course you can kind of go to the page and see all the chapters that I have planned. And one of the other things is, given back then it was also just Blaze for the UI or for the front end, so it was much more easier to write. This time around, it will be a bit more challenge, and I will probably go with React, but I'm also planning to have Jan Küster or partner with Jan Küster and maybe some other people to do the other front ends as well, so that we have you covered.
Yeah, I think that would make sense because I would not be interested in the book if it just included React.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, that's also that's a big challenge of today as well.
So that's okay, cool. Let's see, is there anything? Oh, so Simon is asking, please, where do you get the book? So do you have? Was there a link, by the way?
Yes. So rediscover meteors.com community. That's the landing page where you can sign up. And I'll be honest, guys, I have there in the bottom there is the link to the original one that you can get. But I'm right now looking for interest. If there is enough interest for me to justify, spending my time and going into this and writing this book, then I'll do it. If there isn't, then I'll just focus on something else. So just mostly to kind of judge, are there enough people interested? Will this be a worthwhile, cause? And will this be good enough? Or will I have enough people reading it afterwards so that it justifies my expenses and time?
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so Simon had asked about where to get the book. As you can see, I put in the chat the link that you have there. I also mentioned that it's an old book. Hang on, what did it say? The old book will only be helpful in seeing how the app develops. The code will not work with modern MeteorJS, and I think that's an accurate statement. Would you say?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you will have it won't work out of the box, but I think if you take Discover Meteor today and just gonna fix few things around, like using the proper packages and some adjustments with
I don't
import
think so.
exports,
because now we have async. We don't have futures anymore, right? We don't have
fiber. So that's few things that you need to account for.
Yeah, but if you're starting with Meteor and then you're going to encounter that, you're going to never come back to Meteor if you have to try to fix that yourself. So I would not recommend that to anybody who is new to MeteorJS. Just don't. Okay, if you want to read it as a story, see how different features develop and what you can do with MeteorJS, I think it's instructive from that point of view. But taking that code and trying to execute it, I think will be an exercise in frustration, even for current Meteor developers. I think MeteorJS developers, I think that is not a winning strategy for keeping people in the MeteorJS ecosystem. So if you read it, have a coffee, sit down, read it like a story. That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
These are the things I can do.
Yeah, it's written on the cover there, Meteor 1.0 edition. So
yes,
that needs to be remembered. And when I write this, it will be for Meteor 3.4.
Right. Which has 3.5. Breaking changes from the 1 series. A
lot.
Yeah. So that should be kept in mind. Yeah. So all right, what's next?
So next is kind of going back to the main topic. Some things we're repeating. Meteor Impact. That one is coming up, and this is kind of what I kind of want to get to, give some people some ideas, what you can have, talks about, because that's sometimes big question. What should I talk about? And if you want to do talk today or right now, I would like to discuss maybe because there is always a lot of topics that bear repeating. And I think that can always be, even though they have been done in the past, you can take that presentation or that topic and remake it for for today. So
Absolutely.
I have not in the presentation, but in the background here, I have a list of um, different topics that we had in the past. But Alim, I kind of want to start with you. What would be some of the let's say topics that you would like to kind of either look again, or that you would appreciate because you haven't been
Yeah.
coding in the open source Meteor stuff. So what would be something, if you want to get back into it, what would be the thing? Let's
Yeah.
start
So
there.
I think one of the things that I would love to see, and I have a list of topics I'd like to share with you and just kind of brainstorm with you about what I've been thinking for myself. But anybody can pick up if they wanted to. But one of the topics I was thinking that we should always go back to is security in Meteor, right? Now,
Yeah.
in the past, there are different parts of the MeteorJS application, and they all have a security profile. They all have what we would call an attack surface. And knowing how to button those down and how to tighten them up to make sure that your applications are robust and secure is really, really important. In the past, it used to be that MongoDB by default had no security on the database, and that could get you screwed up. Now, when you're using hosted services, a lot of times they'll take care of that for you. So you don't have to worry about having an exposed database that, I'm trying to remember what I think it's Shogun is the search
Mhm.
engine that is used to search for exposed databases based on, giving them, it's not just databases, but any exposed service, right? That'll go and
Yeah,
scan an IP address.
classical
Yeah.
S3 bucket that doesn't have any password, that's
Yeah.
unsecured. It's similar.
So there are things like this. There's the whether or not excuse me, you're using a package like Insecure because you're trying to figure out um, how whether or not messages are moving from your client to your server and back, and you're trying to debug. Sometimes we'll use a package like Insecure or Auto Publish to make sure that everything gets to where it needs to go and then button it down. In the past, again, in old MeteorJS, Auto Publish and Insecure were on by default, and people would forget to
Yeah.
turn them off, and that would expose the applications to attack directly in the browser. Today, that is not so much an issue, but we do have to remember that if we do use those packages, and they're really useful debugging packages, we don't talk about them enough. So I think those are sort of topics also within the security space. But then, like looking at debugging tools is another thing, and we can look at, how do you use the dev tools? And there's now a profiler that is available through a feature flag on MeteorJS
Mhm.
that I think is really useful. I think there are some posts that I'm trying to remember which one of the developers on the Meteor software team. I think it might be Nacho, who has written some stuff about it. But I think it'd be great to have a talk that included a bunch of different things, including auto publish and insecure, because I think there is a role for them as a debugging tool, as a way to kind of trace where things are, and then of course, how do you actually write your code so that it set itself up easily for debugging? I think that I think are sort of evergreen things, and because the ecosystem in MeteorJS has evolved to include things like the profiler, that we should now, these are evergreen things where people could come and they could talk and they could contribute. So let me throw in a few things, by the way, that I'll pop something else, by the way, because I mentioned feature flags before, and that is actually a topic I was thinking about, like how do you write an application that includes feature flags, and what are feature flags, and why would you have them, and why is the strategy important? So, in a sense, it's not a topic that we've covered before in the past, but
Yeah.
it is a way of talking about how do we progressively develop our applications and deploy them in a way that allows us to test new capabilities and then roll them back without having huge impacts on our users. So I think, and I think this is something, by the way, that we've been seeing the Meteor software team use very effectively. And when we talk about a new version of MeteorJS, when they want us to test out some capabilities, they will normally say you need to enable these flags, right? You need to enable this in the server to get it started. So you have a hyphen whatever it might be, hyphen 3.3 new features, right? I don't know what they might want to call it. And then all of a sudden that wakes up those capabilities in the server and you can test them. But if you don't put that flag on, it doesn't do anything, and it doesn't have a bad effect on your users. So those are some of the things I think that are out there that can be revisited as sort of evergreen topics. There are many more, but those are a couple that come to mind right away.
Yeah, we do have like feature flags in a sense already for some maybe a bit obscure things. I think the big one that will be coming up will be with change streams. With MongoDB. So
but what I'm talking about is how do you as a developer implement feature flags in your application so that you can accomplish the same things that the Meteor software team are accomplishing when they're releasing their software, right? So
would that be also related to A/B testing potentially?
Yeah, because those are progressive software development strategies. So that is I think a topic, and there's another one called I believe canary rollouts, right? I forget exactly how you say it, but there are a number of these different progressive development strategies that I think can roll out there. But there's specific things in here I think that go all the way back to things that we've done before in MeteorJS. I think scaling, how you scale apps, is one of those things that if we were able to get a good talk which has actual demos about how do you turn on features, how do you turn them off, how do you architect your application so that you have effective scaling without runaway CPU usage, which we see sometimes, right? Runaway memory usage. How do you also size your applications? Because I think, and I don't mean to push on MeteorJS developers this way, but a lot of our developers are really cheap. They don't want to pay for servers. They want all of the magic for none of the cost. And honestly, this is something that we need to also address. We don't talk about it too much, but it's the thing that's the monkey in the back on your back all the way through, going all the way back to early days. It's still the monkey on people's back today. And I think it's one of those things that needs to be mentioned, addressed, and then I talked about. So when we talk about scaling applications, we're talking about, how do we typically horizontally scale? How do we, bring on more users onto our servers, but then also being very realistic about the resources that you need on any service that is done.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So right now it's a for the Rediscover Meteor, it's just like a simple page. I haven't really in one afternoon quickly put it out there to kind of get an interest. It's it's nothing spectacular. Maybe I'll make some changes probably to it in a future to kind of also include things like price. But right now it's just main thing is to get it out there to kind of get the initial interest.
If that's the case, you probably should just use like a Wix page or something, just something really simple.
Should probably have used the constant contact page through, but at the same time, I kind of want to also kind of get more into like the details. Okay, what will the chapters be? What will kind of all the other things
So
around.
you're sort of like eating your own dog food is what you're doing right now. You're dog fooding, yeah. So that's
well, no, this
good,
is it's just kind of adding the content,
yeah.
Content there to what's going to be there and all those things. So it's not necessarily dog fooding. It's just putting out there, and I wanted a bit more stuff and flexibility
Yeah.
than there is
But if
on the other pages.
is that page running on MeteorJS? Is that
No. It's just pure HTML, not nothing.
I'm sorry, I got the impression that MeteorJS and that's having
No. That's not yet. Maybe later. Just also kind of.
CSS.
Yeah, I will just have to check into that. But all I'm talking about, scaling, that could be one entire day, if not multiple, on its own. If there's just like all the different little things, and we had for example just like one topic, which is PWA or progressive web applications. How do you how to make the service worker code, or how to handle all the, for example, jam offline package properly, and
Yeah.
there's just so many topics, MongoDB, how to do indexes, all those things. So
I think
there is a lot of
I
stuff.
I think looking at those services separately and having talks about them separately. Here's the thing: like a lot of times when we are using these bundled services, we use what we know or what we think we need to use, but we're not very familiar with those backend services. So, Express is there and you can use it, but Express it's a big system and there's a lot that you can do with it. So the more time you spend learning how it works, the better you're going to be able to use it, the better you're going to understand how you can take advantage of it in MeteorJS. And it's the same thing with MongoDB. MongoDB has grown to be a bit of a monster in terms of its capabilities.
Yeah.
And there is the aggregation pipeline, which is quite separate from like the regular query stream, understanding what the limitations in terms of the aggregation pipeline is, in terms of, what happens along the pipeline, what the threading model is related to what the main threading model is in the regular query interface. And then also understanding how to actually optimize your queries in MongoDB by, doing, the different types of indexes, covered queries, figuring out like which one of these things I should use. Should I use a materialized view or should I do a direct query? Like all of these things are super important to getting better performance with your Meteor application. So yeah, MeteorJS is responsible for a lot of things, but then so are these other tools. And if you're waiting for MongoDB to respond to you because it is taking a long time, because you really, frankly, have a poorly designed database or your queries are bad, then you're going to blame the entire platform. When really what you need to do is you need to go figure out how to optimize different parts of your application. So there are all of these, as you point out, whether it's Redis, whether it's Express, whether it's MongoDB, and any other system, whether we're using Apollo to do GraphQL lookups, it's really, really important, I think, that we have coverage of these different services at impact by people that understand them well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and those will always be evergreen because all of those things are being improved and changed in some way, and they have downstream impacts. So I think having somebody come in and say, hey, this is how you use Redis oplog, and by the way, this is how you set up your queues, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? These are the patterns that you use, the anti-patterns that you look at. I think all of those things are where you as somebody in the Meteor community can come in and you can add a huge amount of value at impact. That's my thought. Can I share with you some of the things I was thinking about doing myself?
Yes, go ahead.
And and then get some feedback. And go ahead. Anybody that looks at this wants to steal it, be my guest. Put a proposal in before I
Or
even get it in.
yeah, or post your ideas in the chat as well, and
Exactly.
we can brainstorm together here for a little bit,
Yeah.
and then I'll kind of also share, looking back at some of the old stocks,
Yeah.
what could be some of the other options.
So one of the things I think, because it's one of the most prominent databases, and it's actually, I believe, also used by the MeteorJS platform, is SQLite. So, I was thinking of doing a talk on SQLite for media development and going through some of the use cases where you might want to, instead of using MongoDB as your database, you might want to swap out and use SQLite or SQLite, right? I keep saying SQLite, but it's SQLite. So that's a crazy topic. I figured it was sort of like not something people would normally see, and might be
Yeah,
interesting.
that would be definitely interesting, because SQLite is built into Node.js right now, so
Yeah.
you can use it on the server as well.
Yeah.
My first question would be, what about the persistence of the data if it's part of the container or stuff? So that would be my
Yeah. Well,
question that I would like to answer. Or
would talk about all of those things. So where would you actually use it? How would it be used? And do you put it in the web app? Do you put it on the server? I think those are all considerations. Those are all architectural considerations for your application. And it depends, I think, is the answer on a lot of that. But I thought that might be a very interesting additional tool that somebody might say, look, Meteor does not work with SQL. Well, yes, it can, but it depends. And so this is one of those things. I could probably say I could do something with Postgres, but I don't want to go there, because SQLite is one of probably the most distributed databases in the world. And I want to key off that, because I think it might be a cool topic. It might also bring some people in to impact that might not normally come to a Meteor talk, just because it's about SQLite, and they might be curious to know, how does that work with MeteorJS and how you can make it work with MeteorJS. So I thought that might be cool. Along the same lines is, and this is just a working topic, JavaScript is not a toy language. And you hear people again and again and again, even today, saying JavaScript's not a real language because it was written in 8 days by Brendan Eich. And it's been almost 30 years now, right? So yeah, that's true with where it started, but that's not where it is. And here are all these things that make it a first-class language. And so talking about that and reminding people, don't feel ashamed because you're using JavaScript and building Node applications and building JavaScript applications, that you can't build a real app. I have known people saying things like, you can't build a financial application with JavaScript. Well, we have examples where that is not true, that there are companies out there that are using MeteorJS for financial-based applications. You can't build healthcare applications. We have a woman who we have a tremendous amount of respect for, that all she does is build healthcare applications that meet U.S. regulations and puts them out there. So again, I think this is one of those things where we could talk about JavaScript being a mature language and talking about the good things, talk about the bad things too, but also relate back to, the myth that it's not a capable language for building certain types of applications and showing examples of it. So I thought, again, it's not a development talk, but it's sort of like, well, look, for those of you who are walking into the space that are not quite sure, should you learn JavaScript? And I would talk about, by the way, one of the reasons why is when you take a look at the GOB index, it's always in the last 10 years, it's always in the top 10 languages. And in many years, it's either been in the top 3 and sometimes the top 1. So I think there's something there, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking that, demonstrating like what steps you could take to master somebody else's code base. So I may have expressed to you, Storyteller, years ago, that the way I started as a software developer was I wasn't allowed to actually write my own code initially. I didn't do any greenfield stuff. I was given a lot of existing code and given maintenance work to do. And so there's some heuristics that I've developed over the years on how I can go and take a look at somebody's code base and then try to understand that. What I would like to do in something like that is, how do you master somebody's code base, sort of with the steps that I've taken? Then how can you outsource some of that to AI to help speed up your learning process? I think that could be a useful thing, and it's fungible. You can use it in JavaScript, you can use it in MeteorJS, but you can also use it in other languages and other frameworks and platforms. So that was a thought. I don't know if that appeals to anybody.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
always great idea.
Feature flags, we talked about. How can you take this concept that's being used on the server by the Meteor team, and then you've probably heard about it. Well, how would you actually do it? How would you execute it? And perhaps develop some small sample applications so you can see how that works, and then talk about what are the pros and cons of going down this path in terms of what this means to your code base. I have one here that, and I would have to go searching to make sure that this is possible, but 6 tips to reduce your build times. And that was something that was, I got the inspiration for this from the 3.3 release, right? That had that 50% reduction advertisement, but also a conversation that I saw Nacho having with another user, where he talked about using the Meteor, what is it? The Meteor include, or is it the Meteor exclude? Something like that.
Include,
but there's an exclusion file that you can then go in and say, all right, well, here's my entire code base that I have, but there's a lot of testing material that I've got in there, and show. It's kind of like, it's Meteor ignore. It's like git ignore, right? And so my thought was like, there are probably a number of different things that you could do that, if you just did these things, tune your environment, could give you faster build times. And so what are some of those? And I just thought 6 is an arbitrary number. It could be any number. It could be 5, it could be 3, it could be 1.
Yeah.
But I thought that this would be...
Or 6 plus 2 specifically for Windows.
Yeah, exactly. So whatever it is, but my 6 might not be your 6. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of those things where, again, you could probably like have that talk over and over and then change it up every single time, and it would be a different talk, and it might be...
Or we can start adding new options through the years. So
yeah. Well, the reason I go with 6 is there is a theory that, most people, when they come to a lecture or so on, they won't be able to hold more than 6 items in mind. So that even is a lot. So you'll see a lot of talks, they'll give like 3, they'll give 4. But 6 is what they say, sort of like the span of attention that you can hold. So that was, an arbitrary number in a way, but also, informed in that way. So like doing, I think doing a comprehensive is probably, if you were to do a comprehensive, I would probably do that as a tutorial or something that somebody paid for so that it could go back and you chapter it out. But doing it as like a conference talk, I don't think is helpful. I think people go to sleep. So you really want to give them, because everybody wants like, what are the 3 things I need to know? What are the 5 things I need to know, right? So if you can kind of keep it limited like that, so it's top of mind and they can go and try it right away, I think that's a better use of it. So that's just my view of the world, but it doesn't have to be yours either. You talked about this before. I had actually written this yesterday. The use cases for MeteorJS. So, MeteorJS is a great platform, I think, for developing applications, but I don't think it's the best tool for every situation. And so, it's the old, to somebody that holds a hammer, everything is a nail. It's simply not true, because if you've got a bolt and you got to screw it in, you hit it with a hammer, it's not going to have the same the same effect. So I think there are things that MeteorJS does really well, and I think we need to really consider those. And I have an opinion on some of those, and I would come and I would bring those in. But the idea is that to be a tickler, to say, look, don't use it for everything, or don't assume it's going to be used for everything, but think about what it's really capable of. Think about the experience that it gives to the developer. And then that intersection is sort of like, the sweet spot of what kinds of applications you want to write with it. So I have some thoughts about that I could do, but also based on a survey I've done on applications that have been written in the past that are still around, that are being used, where you might see the best bang for your buck, so to speak. And then there is a business side talk that I wanted to give, which is don't build it, they might not come. Because
Yeah.
because there is this tendency. Now, hang on a second. I just want to pop over here because Simon had popped something up. I said, I have this web app, not knowing if it's safe. I use few knowledge with AI to create it. It's traditional schools. Yeah, so a security talk might be very helpful to like do a security audit. Like, how, what things do I need to look at to make sure that my app is as safe as I can make it based on the knowledge that I have. So,
Yeah.
so I think like,
most of security talks are always, great if it's related to what you're doing.
So the don't build it, they might not come is really predicated on the notion that as engineers, when we have a capability and we think, oh, there is something that seems missing from the market, I'll just build it and put it out there. And then we see that nobody actually like pays for it, and we get very frustrated. Tools like MeteorJS make it really easy to build things really quickly, which is wonderful. It's a great thing. But the problem is it also takes away the critical thinking that you need to do about like the problem that you're solving, the space, the opportunity that's there for it, and whether or not you should do it. The feeling I think sometimes is that it's such a low cost to build something with MeteorJS relative to, rolling your own, that I'll just put it out there. I'll put the effort in, and then I'll get out there, and then the market will find me. So I wanted to address that as a marketer, and a product guy. I wanted to address that, and hopefully, make it less frustrating for folks out there that have ideas to test those ideas before they actually build an application, to see whether or not there is a market for it. And then the last thing that I've written, I have some ideas that I still want to write down, but I hadn't, is are we competitive? And that would be sort of a matrix review of what MeteorJS does today and its relative strength, relative to other frameworks and platforms that are out there in terms of ease of use, in terms of coverage. And we were talking about accounts just now. That would have been one of those things that you would put in and say, okay, well, MeteorJS does have these things out of the box. Is there anybody else out there that's doing that better than us right now? And if so, does it make them more attractive as a platform? Or if you were a decision maker and you happen to know this, would it sway your decision in terms of using MeteorJS versus using another platform? So I think that is, it's one of those things that might not necessarily be flattering to MeteorJS to have to go through this exercise, but I think it's an important exercise for the team and for developers to kind of say, yeah, these things are important to us, so that the team knows this is where we need to focus, making our improvements and growing the platform. So, I thought that might be a good one also. So if somebody else wants to do that as a talk, God bless, go do it. Any of these you want to take and do it. Go to Impact, sign up right now, put it in there, steal it from me, and do it yourself. It would be great if you did. I'm going to go put it in. I think Jan is going to go with the one that comes in first. So
yeah. Oh, it will depend on who it comes from and what experiences.
Well,
and
but
everything.
we should also.
I think we can accommodate. I think we can accommodate everyone.
I would say if there's somebody new that we haven't heard from before that wants to take this, I would give them the chance, Jan, because we really want to have more than just a tiny group of people owning the conversation. We need new leaders in MeteorJS. We need a constant renewal, and I think this is super important for others to get involved and to share their ideas. So, like I said, I sat down and I wrote these down over the space of about 2 days. I'm sure having this conversation, I have more ideas now from you, Jan, based on some of the Evergreen stuff that we talked about. So I would love to see some of those ideas. And I bet you there are things that we have not talked about that should be addressed here.
Yes, speaking of those, I'm looking right now. I have the 3 documents listing all the talks in the past, and kind of want to quickly go to some of the things that I think could be repeated or improved. So, and I'll kind of jump or kind of bundle it together around topics. So I've already mentioned progressive web apps, PWAs, service worker, all that stuff. That's a good topic. DevOps, that's interesting. Anything related to geomapping or maps, that's something we have in Meteor, so that's there. I would say as a topic in general, anything around the developer experience, being from hot module reloads to talking about for example Meteor DevTools evolved, how they have evolved, or how to use them to debug, or how to do debugging. That's a good one. How to do testing, and how to do best testing. I'll be the first to admit that testing is one of my weaknesses, because I don't remember really a company or any place that I work or open source where testing was not a pain. Where it's just like when I wrote a test and everything was working and great, and or it did what I wanted it to. It was always a pain. So testing, if somebody can make a talk that will make me write test properly, and it will work, and it will give me test code, all the stuff, then it will be amazing. Let's see. We'll have and also looking potentially for people who might be interested in maybe leading some bit off topic discussions or something that can afford a break, some activities. Let me see what we have here. Any tips and tricks on some obscure Meteor things. One of the things that I've did a few years back now, actually a lot of years back now, was I wrote an article about the logging package, which was not documented, and which I think is amazing. This was much more attention than it's getting. So find some obscure package in Meteor, or something obscure in a core, and there you have a topic. Internalization, localization. I might actually I've did talks on that in the past, and I might do that again if I get that far with the universe INTN that was added into committed packages. If I do some upgrades on that, then that will be a talk from me as well. Scaling, as we already mentioned, talks on scaling, real-time data, all those stuff, how to improve your productivity, or there can be select community. There was a talk. I think I did this talk, tips to improve getting help from the OSS community. That's a big one. Anything also kind of with the learning journey. How to be better developer. I think in general is a topic that will get you access in many places. And of course, any technical. And let me look at the last year here. I mean, that another big thing is if you have a company running, or that is running Meteor, tell us about your journey. Tell us about your experiences, about your issues, and all those things. That's always super interesting. We have some. We had that was in 23. No, sorry, not 22. Resident email sending, another API integration. That's different. Or another big thing could be we had talks about uniforms. This year, what could be an interesting topic would be, for example, about Zod and Meteor, or something along those lines. All the different schemas that you can use. React hooks and Meteor, how to do that. And I think that could be kind of looking at in the past, what were kind of some of the topics that you can recycle and reuse, and that are great for repetition. If you, in general, what I say is, if you select one of those repeating topics, the benefit of that is that you can then recycle it again and again and improve it every year. So and especially if it's like for beginner, or even scaling, that's useful every year, and you just have to update it with the latest information. So then you can have, every year you can have a topic ready to go, and there we go.
I have a cheat code with that, by the way, which is if you're out there and you're trying to figure out, okay, I'll go and I'll take a look at some of these old talks on those topics, and I'll see how they talked about it. One of the things I would do is I would say, okay, when you take a look, one of the things you could say is, should I do this as a topic? Will people watch it? Are they interested? And if you take a look at how many views that topic got, then that could be an indicator that that might be a good topic for me to recycle, because other people were interested in it and they watched it. Yeah. So, maybe if I did that, then people would come. But if you want to be really shy and you're not quite sure about your own skills or something, and you wanted to play with something, there's nothing wrong with just choosing any topic at that point and not necessarily trying to discriminate for popularity. So, that's it. Right.
Or last one, if you want to do some, some that get lots of views afterwards, pick some drama topic.
Yeah.
Something MySQL sucks and MongoDB for the win, and it might be like just a little bit cheeky at the conference, but afterwards, once it gets uploaded to YouTube, that's going to be on fire. And so those are also kind of things. Yeah. But for that, I would recommend that go in guns blazing and have some fun with it as well. And be kind of ready that you'll get potentially, a lot of backlash, especially once it kind of leaves the conference space.
Well, I think you have to have a bit of a thick skin for that, So I remember Tom Goldenberg, who has given a few talks at Meteor and has gone on to other things. But Tom once wrote an article after he had been rejected from a couple of universities for their computer science program, and then went to a boot camp, and then wrote in LinkedIn a series of articles, but one of them was something to the effect of, universities are irrelevant today, all you need are boot camp, right? And it blew up. There were so many people that agree with him. There were so many people that beat on him, that said, you don't understand the value of a university degree. I was a little shocked because my dad was a professor. I've grown up on a university campus. I think that there is a value to universities, and so he was saying, well, you don't need it. With a boot camp, you can get a job. But he hadn't gotten a job at that point. But that article ended up getting him a job. Somebody was very impressed with it, and then they interviewed him, and he got some jobs. I mean, he did some other work also, like he did demos at Meteor Night, and demonstrated that he could actually build stuff. So he was provocative, but he was also demonstrating a skill. But it was that provocativeness that got people to pay attention to him over somebody else. And I think you're gonna alienate some people, but then there are going to be people that are going to be attracted. So to your point, unless you're saying like really Nazi stuff, I think you should be fine. Just you can be provocative in a lot of different ways. You could say that Postgres really sucks. You could say MongoDB is a toy database. You could say all sorts of things if you wanted to, and some people would agree with you, some people will not. But you'll find your audience, so to speak. So that's there's something about poking the bear, so to speak, that can benefit you if that's a tack that you want to take. So good marketing tack. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
So where are we now?
So let's get back dentation, and we'll be finishing up.
And we'll add that to the stream here. Okay. Ooh. So folks, if you hadn't had a chance yet, hit that subscribe button. We've been growing this community for a bit, and we would love to have you. If you're watching and you're not part of it right now, come on in, join the club, be part of our community. We'd love to have you. It'll allow you to be notified when new episodes come up. And that's it. So What's next?
Just have a few reminder,
Okay.
or maybe just one, besides Meteor Impact, which we harped on for a while.
Sure.
Guys, there is a MeteorJS survey, community survey out there. You can follow the links in here. It's also on the forums. Please fill it up. Bully every other Meteor developer you know in filling it out. I think especially for European countries, we are trying to show that there is more, developers in Europe than in America. So definitely, pull it out and let's see where there are the most Meteor developers. And also this will help us kind of see, where everybody is, what are some of the issues that you're running into or what you like about Meteor, so that, we can in the future, or it can help not just the Meteor core team, but people doing packages and everybody else kind of focus their efforts. Not to mention, it can also be good for inspiration, and it's also a lot of fun then to analyze the data afterwards to see where everybody is.
Yeah. So didn't I tell you guys that Jan loves a survey, right? I said that before, right? And now he's like he's got his own survey that he's getting you to do. Please, actually, it's very, very useful information. And for those of you who are just passive watchers that don't realize this, we spent a lot of time actually putting QR code there, so you don't actually have to type out the URL. We put the URL there so you have access to it if you want to, and we even shortened them. So we're using a tiny URL, so that way we can just, instead of having a huge amount, if you were going to physically type that, you could type it yourself. But make it easy on yourself. Just point your phone to the QR code, and it'll take you to the page. And it'll get you there very quickly. So there's really no reason not to do it. You could just pick your phone up, point it to the QR code. I'm gonna blow this thing back up again, so you could do that, and then go there, and take the survey. How long a survey is it, Jan?
I think 5 to 10 minutes. I've took inspiration from the Node.js survey, which is a bit longer.
Sure.
Or it might just maybe look to me because there's a lot of options to select from sometimes. But I think it shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. That would be if you go super slow and do a lot of typing. But I try to limit that. It's really mostly just selecting and choosing things, because that's also easier to analyze.
Excellent. All right, and I think we're towards the end of our program now, right?
That's all I have here.
No more screens. Okay, so
yes.
let me remove that. And Jan, let's just go back here so you can see our pretty faces. I'm going to say we're pretty today. I don't know.
I shaved.
Yeah, I shaved last night. I forgot to do it this morning, but don't hold that back. I'm a little scruffy. I'm a little rough. I'm a bad boy today. So anyway, I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Folks, listen, enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you for joining us again, being with us. It was really great to be back again, and looking forward to next week, where we're going to be continuing down the road to MeteorJS Impact. So we hope you'll join us next week. And until then, have a great weekend. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I got to figure out how to end the stream without looking